Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to achieve a perfect pink long stiletto look. Let's get started. So first I'm going to start by pushing back my customer's cuticles. This particular customer was not that bad, so I didn't really need to be rough or anything like that. But on a low setting, you can get a cuticle bit in those little packets that have like almost 20 plus drill bits, and I just used a round one. There's 3 of them. They're small, medium, and large. I normally use the medium or the large one. But I'm just going in on a very low speed and I'm pushing back my customer's cuticles very carefully. Sometimes these can be a bit rough when you first use them, so what I'll do is I'll let it run on a buffer for about 5 to 10 seconds just to make sure when I first put it on my customer I don't cut them or anything. Next, I'm showing you that I'm using a brand new sanding band. You never want to use the same one. I sped it up just because we were talking so I kept pausing and stuff like that, but when you're using a sanding band, you want it to be on the lowest speed. I'm not going this fast. I just sped it up for the video. And you want to be very careful. You want to make sure that the sanding band is flat. If you notice, the only time that I allowed it to point downward just a little bit was when I was getting into those hard corners that were to be reached. But you always want to be careful when you're using a sanding band because these can cut the customer just like anything else. And you want to make sure that you are getting any old color, any oil that is on the nail bed, any shiny spot. So you just want to make sure that you're evenly smoothing, well not even smoothing, evenly etching the nail plate. After I have dusted the nails completely, I'm going in with my cuticle nippers. As I said before, I use my round cuticle bit to push the cuticles back. So now that they are slightly raised, you can see in the video they're slightly raised just a little bit. I'm going in with my cuticle nippers and I am simply cutting what is visible. I'm not digging, I'm not pulling, I'm only clipping what is raised because you can hurt your customer if you clip too much or if you go too high and clip a sensitive spot. After I've done that and I've dusted to make sure all the dust was gone, I'm going to apply my tips. Now, if you notice my previous video, the tips were different. This particular customer wanted her nails to be curved and not flat. Now, the tips that I normally use are Eden because I feel like they give me a very perfect shape. These tips are good as well, but they have more of a curve to them. Eden tips are flatter. Eden tips are really good for like a perfect square shape or a perfect coffin shape. These particular tips were curved because, of course, my customer knows what they like, so I go with what the customer likes. I do think that curved tips are easily breakable because they do have that hump in the middle of them. But unless you apply your acrylic correctly and you're making sure that the free edge and the apex is good and perfect and even, then your nails won't break. But when you apply tips, you want to make sure that they're even from corner to corner. This particular customer does have wide nail beds, so instead of me doing the shorter nail tip, the skinnier nail tip, I'm going to make sure that I'm perfectly matching. And if they're too small, I'm always going to go one size up because, like I said, her nail beds are wide. So I want to make sure that I'm fully covering both corners of her nail bed. I'm putting just a little bit of glue, not too much, and I'm applying it to the tip to the edge of the nail. Now, once I have applied my tips to both hands, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the nail tips to the desired length that my customer likes. Now, like I said, this customer wanted them to be long, so I didn't cut very much off. Normally for my long nails or extra long nails, I always cut above the number first and have the customer look at the length, because they are pretty long already. Once I cut the nails, I'm gonna go back and make sure I check both hands to make sure that they are even, and make sure that both hands are the same length. You never want your customer to walk out with one hand longer than the other. So I always go back and double check, and I also have the customer pick up their phone, send a text, dig in their wallet, do something that they would normally do just to make sure that the nails are not too long. You know, like I always say, you can never add length, you can only take it away. So I always want to make sure that my customers' nails are exactly how they want them to be, so that once I apply the acrylic, I don't have to worry about cutting them back down. So I started this new technique for stiletto nails. It's pretty simple, so just try to watch as much as you can. I'm taking my nail clippers. Normally I would use scissors, but I'm taking my nail clippers and I'm cutting the corners of the nail at an angle to where it kind of makes a point at the tip of the nail. I don't go in too far because you can overcut and then the nail will either be too skinny or uneven. So it's kind of like making a very tapered coffin, and then the tip of the nail is slightly pointed, if that makes sense. I really hope it makes sense. But I'm only cutting the corners of the nails. And as you can see, they're kind of coffin, but they're not very coffin, because we're going for a stiletto look. Once I've cut the tips, I'm gonna go ahead and get out my file. I've said in previous videos, when you file, you want to always make sure you are filing the whole nail tip, not just the bottom or not just the top. So if you watch carefully, I'm putting my file at the free edge of the nail. The free edge is where the tip meets the nail. And I'm making sure that I come all the way down with my file, and I'm filing on each side, going back and forth to make sure that the nail is even. If you overfile on one side of the nail, one side will be one way and the other side of the nail will be another way. So you always want to make sure that you're going back and forth and trying your best to file enough strokes on each side of the nail, not just focusing on one side. And you see how perfect that is. That is a perfect stiletto shape. Me and my customer were very pleased with how this came out. After I have filed on both sides, I'm going in with my sanding band that I used previously, and I'm just etching or roughing up the nail tip. I really do think that when you do rough up the nail tip, it allows the acrylic to adhere better to the nail tip because nail tips are shiny. So just like we do with our nail beds, we want to make sure that the nail tip is removed from any shine to make sure that the acrylic sticks. Once I do that, I'm going to dust the nails completely, and I'm going to go in with my young nail swipe and a manicure brush, and I'm going to make sure that I thoroughly clean my customer's nail beds to make sure there's no dust, no debris, or anything stuck inside her nails before I apply the acrylic. You never want dust to get trapped in the nail bed before you apply the acrylic because it can cause air bubbles and even allow the nail to lift to where the nail will come off or detach from the nail bed. You want to make sure that the nail beds are as clean as possible before you apply the acrylic. If you don't have Young Nail Swipe, you can always use alcohol. Next, I'm going in with my nail primer. You want to make sure that you're not getting the primer on the skin. If it touches the nail tip, that is okay, but if it gets on the skin, you want to wash it off immediately because it can cause irritation and or burn. I always do 2 coats of primer. Most of my customers have oily nail beds, so 2 coats of primer is very necessary. Another good primer is Young Nails Protein Bond. It's a non-acid base, so if it gets on the skin, it won't be as harmful. And I also use Tammy Taylor, which if it does touch the skin, it can be a little bit of an irritation, but it's not as bad. Alright, so we're going in with the acrylic. My first bead is going right above the free edge where the tip meets the nail. And I'm taking my brush and I'm dragging it along the sides so that any excess acrylic will just fall right to the bottom. I like this method because I feel that it allows the acrylic to evenly flatten and, well, not even flatten, but it makes sure that the acrylic is being applied evenly. I'm checking from sidewall to sidewall to make sure that that's good in how it looks. Like I said, my customer likes her nails to be curved and thicker too. So my next bead is going a little bit above the free edge, above my first bead, and I'm brushing that down very lightly. My last bead is going at the cuticle, and I'm making sure that I'm melting it into the cuticle. I'm not allowing it to rush back to the nail, to the cuticle area, and I'm making sure that I clean those sides of the nails. I do not want that acrylic to dry on the skin because it'll be very hard to get it off. You always want your customer to be very relaxed, and you want their nail and their fingers to be hanging downward because it'll be easier for you that, let's say you do put a little too much acrylic on there, if anything, it'll fall downward instead of back into the cuticle. I'm just showing my customer how it looks. She approved. We're gonna keep going. Depending on my customer and how they like their nails, if they like them thicker, thinner, curved, flatter, I go by what they like. And then normally by what they like is how I know how many pearls to put on the nail. Sometimes if they like them thicker, I'll do 3 to 4 pearls. If they like them a little more thinner, then I'll do the 1 ball or the 2 ball method. It just depends, and it depends on what you're comfortable with. I've been doing nails for 5 years, and I still do the 3 ball method. I know a lot of people that do the 1 ball, but I think I get more coverage with the 3 ball method. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with, but never feel like you have to do all these special things. Just apply the acrylic, make sure your application is very good, make sure you're cleaning the sides of the nails, and things will go smooth. Now, after I have applied a perfect acrylic application, I am going in with my nail file and I am cleaning up those sides, and I'm just sharpening the look of the nails. Acrylic tends to affect the shaping of the nail, so you always want to go back and file just to make sure that the nails are perfect to your liking and of course the customer's liking. Now, I like my nails to taper from the tip to the free edge. So what I'll do is I'll take my nail file and I'll file downward or upward from the bottom of the nail to make sure that it is evenly blended. Sometimes it is hard to use your electric file drill to get the nail completely even. So I always like to hand file first on the tip, and then once I do that, I'll go back with my e-file and finish everything off. But like I said before, those files can be very sharp. So when you are pulling out a new file, you always want to take another old file and score the sides of the nails. Scoring basically means just roughing or smoothing the sides of the nails to make sure that when you're filing, you don't cut your customer. But I use my fingers to be that barrier for my customer. So if you're comfortable with wearing gloves, you can wear gloves too. Just so you're not cutting yourself or, of course, messing up your own nails. I don't really care about that. But you always want to be as safe as possible and making sure that you're protecting your customer at all times because those files can be very sharp, even the buffers. Once I'm done filing with my hand file, I'm going to go in and I'm going to carefully use my e-file with my fine sanding band, and I'm going to just blend the top of the nail with the bottom of the nail, as well as going around the cuticle area also. After I'm done doing that, I'm going to take my fine drill bit, which is the gold one that's up next, and I'm going to just go around the cuticle with that. You can use that on the top of the surface to smooth, but I like it. I think it's easier just to use it for the cuticles, and then of course buffing after, which will help smooth the nail. After I have thoroughly buffed the nails and got all the excess dust off of the nails, I'm going in with, again, my Young Nail Swipe or my alcohol, and I'm going to be cleaning the nail surface. This particular customer loved how they looked afterwards. We were gonna polish them, but instead she just wanted to rock them how they were. So I was very happy with that. So I went in and I made sure that I removed all of the dust. Normally if I was doing regular polish, I would have my customer wash with soap and water, but because I'm adding a gel clear coat, I'm just using rubbing alcohol, or I'm using like something like Young Nail Swipe before I apply my gel top coat. After I've done that, I'm going in with my favorite top coat, which is gelish, and I'm applying a thin layer to the nail surface, and look how perfect these nails look. They turned out amazing, and the top coat of course just added that extra shine and extra pizzazz. These nails would have still been fine if they were matte, but I love shiny, I love glitter, so do my customers, so we added the gel top coat. After the gel top coat is cured in my lamp for 60 seconds, I go back with my rubbing alcohol or my Young Nail Swipe and I clean off the surface, because most gels have a sticky layer, so we want to make sure we wipe off that sticky layer so my customer isn't feeling like the tackiness from the gel. After that, I'm applying my cuticle oil, and then that's it. I really hope you guys like this video. I tried to be as informative as possible because I know you guys have questions just like I had questions. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and of course comment what you want to see in my next upcoming video, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. These nails turned out perfect, and I appreciate all of you guys for watching and tuning in to my videos. Don't forget, glitter makes everything better, so keep shining. Have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. See you later.